Let's dive into a mini history of how the Vatican made its money, starting from the beginning. In 1870, with the unification of Italy, the Papal States ceased to exist, becoming just Italian territory. Before this, the Papal States covered much of central Italy, and the Pope acted both as a Christian leader and a ruler. So once Italian troops conquered Rome, the Pope lost all of his power and the territories. As you can imagine, the Pope wasn't happy about it, so he refused to recognize the Kingdom of Italy, and instead he confined himself into the Vatican complex, never stepping outside, and so did his successors for the next 59 years. When Mussolini took power, however, he recognized that the Church held a strong influence, and he wanted that influence to be on his side. In 1929, therefore, the Lateran Treaty was signed between Mussolini's government and the Church, ending all the disputes. The treaty formally established Vatican City as an independent state. Additionally, it recognized Catholicism as Italy's official religion and made religious education mandatory in schools. For the lost territories, the Vatican State also received a compensation of 750 million lire, the currency of the time, in cash, plus 1 billion lire in Italian government bonds. So with a newly formed state and cash flowing into the Vatican's pockets, Pope Pius XI had a big challenge ahead. The Vatican had faced financial issues for the past several years, and Pope Pius had only been elected in 1922, so he was lacking the experience of managing an independent state. But he had the right man for the job, and that man was Bernardino Nogara. Nogara was a very well-connected person. He was born into a quite wealthy Catholic family and had as many as 12 siblings, 4 of which had ecclesiastic careers, and another one ended up working as a directors for the Vatican museums. That already established some good connections for Nogara, and on top of that, he married into an even wealthier and well-connected family. He went on to become an engineer working on various mining projects in Wales and Bulgaria. He then briefly returned to Italy before moving to the Ottoman Empire. While in Italy, he established a few good connections, one of which was with Giuseppe Volpi. He would later become the Minister of Finance under Mussolini. But for now, Giuseppe Volpi was a businessman who saw an opportunity to make money in the Ottoman Empire. He secured funding for his project thanks to Giuseppe Toeplitz, who was the director of BCI, a major Italian bank. Volpi, along with the BCI, in 1907 established Società Commerciale d'Oriente, known as Comor, to promote funding activities for systems and infrastructural initiatives, and also to collect information and maintain relationships with the Ottoman Empire. And that's when Nogara enters the scene. He was already working in Turkey on some projects, and since he knew Volpi, he had the experience and he knew various languages. He was the right man at the right time in the right place. After working for Comor, Nogara's financial career took over. He was eventually appointed a representative of BCI and, with time, became vice president and a member of the board of directors. He was also involved in the Versailles Peace Conference in 1919, and he actively negotiated the financial terms in the Lateran Treaty for the Vatican. An interesting fact is that while he was negotiating for the Vatican, his friend Giuseppe Volpi was working as a Minister of Finance for the government. He left that position in 1928 while the treaty was signed in February 1929, but it is really interesting to see how they were all connected to each other. Anyway, in 1929, Nogara was appointed financial advisor to the Vatican. He was specifically appointed with the task of managing the funds received from the Lateran Treaty. As we saw, he had a strong background and he had even stronger ties. And at the time, he was also working for BCI. I'm not sure if he was member of the board or if he was vice president at that specific time. But anyway, he was extremely well connected, and he was also described as a very talented man. Initially, on behalf of the Vatican, he started investing in various industries around Europe. But once the Great Depression hit Europe as well, he quickly changed strategy, focusing on real estate deals, gold, and treasury bonds. Many of these investments were abroad, and Nogara established various shell companies, so it was hard to track them back to the Vatican. One of the reasons was simply that it would not look good if the church was buying properties abroad and stocking up gold while asking for donations during Mass. But another reason was that Nogara was investing in anything that would make profit, and those investments weren't always aligned with what the church was preaching. For instance, he invested in a company manufacturing birth control products, but he also invested heavily in arms manufacturing companies and war industries. So you see how the church, profiting from those industries, could quickly become a scandal. As a member of the board of directors of BCI, Nogara was also strongly involved in Sudameri's. Sudameri's was a French and Italian bank based in South America, and BCI was a major stakeholder. Through a shell company, Nogara bought shares of Sudameri's on behalf of the Vatican. Sudameri's was then financing Nazis, and the Vatican was making profits from those deals. Because all these investments were made in secrecy, it is really hard to know how much money Nogara really made on behalf of the Vatican. But by 1942, it is estimated that he made at least 1 billion in profits. It is also said that Nogara was reporting directly to the Pope, and no notes were being taken during those meetings. Nogara had a really long-standing relationship with the Vatican. He first started helping the Pope in 1914, way before he was appointed financial advisor, and he would continue advising the Vatican until his death in 1958. He worked under different popes, and they all seem to have appreciated, obviously, his talent to make money, but also his discreet ways. Cardinal Spellman went as far as saying that Nogara was the most important thing that happened to the Church after Jesus Christ.